Well, thank you, Boyd. And on behalf of Rocky Mountain Institute, I'd like to thank National Geographic for hosting this national launch event for Reinventing Fire. Fire made us human, fossil fuels made us modern, and now we need a new fire that can make us safe and secure and durable. So Rocky Mountain Institute is aiming to shift the United States, for starters, completely from oil and coal to efficiency and renewable energy. In our peer-reviewed grand synthesis, Reinventing Fire, released here today, details how saving and displacing fossil fuels can work better and cost less than buying and burning them. Many of my co-authors and collaborators in this ambitious effort are here today, and I'd like to invite them to stand. I think they are here. Yes, thank you. It is their hard work that made this effort possible. And I encourage you to seek them out for conversation after our panel. Thank you. 4/5 of the world's energy, as Boyd just mentioned, still comes from burning roughly 4 cubic miles a year of fossil fuels. They have built our civilization, they've created our wealth, they've enriched the lives of billions. Yet their rising costs to our security, economy, health, environment are eroding, starting to outweigh their benefits. So we need a new fire. Now, this is what our energy system looks like today. Disconnected, aging, inefficient. It needs refurbishment. Switching from the old fire to the new fire is going to take two big shifts in oil and in electricity. And they're distinct because less than 1% of our oil, but 95% of our coal makes electricity. Oil and power stations each release 2/5 of the fossil carbon going into the air. Nearly 3/4 of electricity powers our buildings, 3/4 of oil fuels our mobility. The rest of the electricity and oil run factories. So very efficient vehicles, buildings, and factories save oil and coal and also save natural gas that can displace both of them. Now, the system we envisage for 2050 is efficient, connected, and distributed. Super efficient autos, buildings, and factories will rely on a secure, modern, and resilient electricity system. There will be no need for coal or oil or even nuclear energy once efficiency and renewables have ended our addiction to fossil fuel. Creating the core industries of this new energy era could cost $5 trillion less than business as usual, and yet support a 158% bigger U.S. economy. The transition needs no new inventions and no new federal taxes, mandates, subsidies, or laws, thus end running Washington gridlock. And it assumes that carbon emissions and all other externalities are worth zero, a conservatively low estimate. Let me say that again. I'm going to tell you how the United States can get completely off oil and coal $5 trillion cheaper with no act of Congress led by business for profit. This energy solution is going to be designed and driven in the C-suite, not in K Street. And whether you most care about profits and jobs and competitive advantage, or about national security, or about health and environmental stewardship, Reinventing Fire makes sense and makes money. General Eisenhower reputedly said that expanding the boundaries of a tough problem makes it soluble by encompassing more options, more degrees of freedom, more synergies. So in Reinventing Fire, we integrated all 4 energy-using sectors: transportation, buildings, industry, and electricity, And we integrated 4 kinds of innovation in technology, design, policy, and strategy. These combinations yield very much more than the sum of the parts, especially in deeply disruptive business opportunities. Now, including its hidden economic and military costs, oil is costing us upwards of 1/6 of GDP. That's upwards of $6 billion a day, not just the $2 billion we pay for it, but $4 billion more in hidden costs. And automobiles are using 3/5 of our mobility fuel, so how can we make autos oil-free? Well, 2/3 of the energy needed to move a typical 2-ton steel car is caused by its weight. But for the past quarter century, epidemic obesity has made our 2-ton steel autos gain weight twice as fast as we have. But ultralight, ultra-strong materials like carbon fiber composites can make dramatic weight savings snowball and can make autos simpler and cheaper to build. Lighter, more slippery autos need less force to move them, so their propulsion system shrinks. Such vehicle fitness then makes electric autos affordable because their batteries or fuel cells get smaller, lighter, and cheaper. So their sticker price is going to go down as well to be comparable to today's autos, and of course the running cost per mile will be very much less. Now these innovations can transform automakers from wringing tiny savings out of Victorian steel stamping and engine technologies to the steeply falling costs of 3 mutually reinforcing technologies in the carbon fiber, the manufacturing methods for turning it into structures, and the electric powertrain. And sales can grow and prices can drop even faster with a temporary fee-bate, that is, rebates for efficient new autos paid for by fees on inefficient ones. There are 5 fee-bate programs operating in Europe, and in the first 2 years, the biggest of those tripled the speed of improving auto efficiency. The resulting shift to electric autos is going to be as game-changing as shifting from small refinements in mechanical typewriters to Moore's law-driven computers. Of course, computers and electronics are America's biggest industry, and typewriter makers have vanished. So vehicle fitness opens up a new automotive competitive strategy that can save twice as much oil as we'd thought over the next 40 years, and can make affordable the electrification that saves the rest of the oil. Leaders are going to beat laggards, just as Toyota's bold jump into hybrids 14 years ago is still challenging competitors to catch up. Only faster, because hybrid autos only have 1 learning curve, not 3 synergistic ones. America could lead this automotive transition, this automotive revolution, really. Currently, the leader is Germany. This year, Volkswagen announced 2013 production of this 230-mile-a-gallon 2-seat carbon fiber plug-in hybrid. BMW announced 2013 mass production of this carbon fiber electric car, and said that its carbon fiber will indeed be paid for by needing fewer batteries. And their CEO says, "We do not intend to be a typewriter maker." Audi says it's going to beat both of those competitors by a year. Even faster and cheaper manufacturing technologies, like the way we made this carbon fiber test piece 7 years ago in less than 1 minute, can scale to automotive speed and cost with aerospace performance, and ultimately save 4/5 of automaking's capital needs and save oil equivalent to finding a Saudi Arabia under Detroit. Now, the same physics and the same business logic also apply to bigger vehicles. Walmart has saved 60% of the fuel per ton mile in its giant truck fleet over the past 5 years. That does include smarter logistics, but just the technological saving potential can rise to 2/3, and with doubled and tripled efficiency airplanes as well, maybe more, can save nearly $1 trillion. Today's military revolution in energy efficiency, driven by some people who are here with us today, will speed all of these civilian advances in much the same way that military research in the past gave us economy-transforming innovations like the internet, the global positioning system, and the jet engine and microchip industries. As we design and build all kinds of vehicles better, we can also use them smarter. For example, if this graph of traffic congestion in the morning and evening rush hours were an electricity load shape, we would throw a lot of pricing and IT-enabled smart grid stuff at it to try to flatten it out. But by not yet doing that for road traffic, we are wasting many billions of dollars a year in idle people, idle vehicles, and idle roads. But now we have 4 powerful ways to cut out needless driving. We can charge real-time costs of road infrastructure per mile, not per gallon. We can use smart IT to enhance transit and empower car sharing and ride sharing. We can allow lucrative smart growth real estate models so more people are already where they want to be and don't need to go somewhere else. And we can use IT to smooth traffic flow with intelligent transport systems. Together, these proven methods can give us the same access with 46 to 84% less driving, saving another $0.4 trillion, plus another $0.3 trillion from more productive use of trucks. So 40 years hence, a far more mobile U.S. economy can use no oil, saving $4 trillion. These 125 to 240 mile a gallon equivalent autos can use any mixture of electricity, hydrogen fuel cells, and advanced biofuels. The airplanes and trucks can realistically use advanced biofuels or hydrogen, or the trucks could even burn natural gas, but no vehicles will need oil. And the total biofuel needed for mobility, at most 3 million barrels a day, can be provided without using any cropland. In fact, 2/3 of it will come from waste streams, and without harming soil fertility or climate. Our team speeds up all these kinds of savings by what we call institutional acupuncture. We figure out where the business logic is congested and not flowing properly and stick little needles in it to get it flowing, working with partners ranging from Ford to Walmart to the Pentagon. And I think most of the 6 sectors that need to be transformed are already at or past their tipping point, where this long effort starts to get easier. In fact, 2 years ago, mainstream analysts started to see peak oil not in supply but in demand. And Deutsche Bank even forecast world oil use is going to peak in about another 5 years. In short, oil is becoming uncompetitive even at low prices before it becomes unavailable even at high prices. But electrified autos needn't burden the grid. On the contrary, when smart autos are exchanging electricity and information through smart buildings with smart grids, they're adding to the grid important storage and flexibility resources that then make it easier to integrate solar and wind power. So electrified autos converge the oil story with our second big story, saving electricity and then making it differently. And those twin revolutions promise more numerous, diverse, and profound disruptions in the electricity sector than in any other sector, as 21st century technology and speed collides with 20th and 19th century institutions, rules, and cultures. Changing how we make electricity, though, gets a lot easier if we need less of it. And today it's mostly wasted, with efficiency techniques improving faster than they're being installed, so the potential savings keep getting bigger and cheaper. Over the next 40 years, buildings can triple their energy productivity, saving $1.4 trillion net present value. The savings are worth 4 times what they cost. The internal rate of return is 33%. Industry can double its energy productivity with a 21% internal rate of return. But there's an even more disruptive innovation we've been hatching at RMI called integrative design that can boost those savings further. And it can often make very big savings cost less than small or no savings. So you get expanding returns instead of diminishing returns to investment in efficiency. That's how our retrofit last year is saving over 2/5 of the energy in the Empire State Building. Remanufacturing on site its 6,500 windows into super windows that are almost perfect in letting in light without heat, plus better lights and office equipment, cut the peak cooling load by 1/3, and then we could renovate smaller chillers instead of adding bigger ones. That saved $17 million of capital cost, which helped pay for the other improvements and reduce the payback time to just 3 years. Integrative design can also increase the $500 billion of conventional savings in industry. For example, 3/5 of the world's electricity runs motors, half of that runs pumps and fans. And we can save about half of all the motor energy with 35 integrated improvements paying back in about a year. But first we ought to capture the bigger, cheaper savings further downstream that are normally ignored. For example, pumps, the biggest use of motors, move liquids through pipes. A typical industrial pumping loop, though, was redesigned to use at least 86% less pumping energy and cost less to build just by replacing long, thin, crooked pipes with fat, short, straight pipes. Not rocket science, not new technology, just rediscovering good old Victorian engineering and rearranging our metal furniture. So what does such savings mean for the electricity that is 60% used in motors? Well, from the coal burned in the power plant to the flow out of the pipe, there are so many compounding losses that only 1/10 of the input energy actually emerges from the pipe as flow. But now turn those compounding losses around backwards into compounding savings, and every unit of flow or friction we save in the pipe saves 10 units of fuel and cost and pollution back at the power plant. And also, as you go back upstream, the components get smaller, so they get cheaper. Our team has lately found such snowballing energy savings in more than $30 billion worth of industrial redesigns, old and new, from data centers and chip fabs to mines and refineries. And typically, our new installation designs save about 30 to 60% of the energy with a 2 or 3 year payback. Those are the retrofits, rather. And the new facility redesigns typically save more, about 40 to 90% typically with lower capital cost. Now, as efficiency gains in buildings and factories start to outpace economic growth, America's electricity use will start to shrink despite electrified autos. And this will ease and speed the shift to new sources of electricity, chiefly renewables. China leads renewables' explosive growth and plummeting costs. Some Chinese solar module prices just fell below the bottom of this chart. And solar and wind power are marketplace winners today. Already in a dozen states, private installers, some of whom will shortly be financed by Google, can put those cheap photovoltaics on your roof with no money down and guarantee to beat your utility bill. Such unregulated products can even deliver a virtual utility that bypasses power companies in much the way that cell phones bypassed wireline phone companies. Half of the world's new generating capacity for the past 3 years has indeed been renewable. And last year, renewables other than big hydro got $151 billion in private capital investment and surpassed global installed nuclear capacity by adding 60 billion watts. 60 billion watts is also the amount of photovoltaic capacity that the world will be able to manufacture by the end of this year each year, and that number's been growing 65% a year for about 5 years. In contrast, orders for coal and nuclear power plants are fading because they have too much cost and too much financial risk to attract investors. Now, our aging and dirty and insecure electricity system has to be replaced by 2050. And whatever we replace it with, it's going to cost about $6 trillion at present value for our electricity over the next 40 years. Electricity futures based on business as usual, or on new nuclear build and so-called clean coal, or on centralized renewables, or on distributed renewables, all turn out to cost about the same. But they have profoundly different risks in national security, fuel, water, finance, technology, climate, and health. So no matter what the supply choices, for example, our over-centralized grid, as it now exists, is vulnerable to cascading and potentially nation-shattering power failures, blackouts caused by solar storms, by other natural disasters, or by terrorism. But that risk disappears, and all the other risks are best managed if distributed renewable supply lets us redesign the grid into what are called netted islandable microgrids that normally interconnect but can stand alone at need. This transformation would cost about the same as any other electricity future, but it would also maximize customer choice, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Together, efficient use and diverse, dispersed renewable supply are starting to flip the whole electricity system on its head. See, traditionally, utilities built giant coal and nuclear stations and maybe gas plants too, and a little bit of efficiency in renewables. Those utilities were rewarded, as they still are in 36 states, for selling you more electricity. But especially now where regulators are starting to reward cutting your bills, the market is shifting massively towards efficiency, renewables, combined heat and power, and ways to blend them all together reliably with less transmission and with little or no bulk electricity storage. In fact, last year, 4 German states were 43 to 52% wind powered, and US and European analyses confirm that 80 to 100% renewable electricity is feasible, reliable, and cost effective. These best buys also turn out to be the most effective solutions to climate change, nuclear proliferation, energy insecurity, and energy poverty. So now combine the electricity and oil revolutions, efficient buildings and factories, and saving directly burned fuels, and you get the really big story, Reinventing Fire, where business enabled and sped by smart policies in mindful markets can lead the United States completely off oil and coal by 2050, saving $5 trillion, saving much risk and insecurity, and incidentally reducing fossil carbon emissions by 82 to 86%. So our energy future is not fate, but choice, and that choice is very flexible. In 1976, for example, government and industry all agreed and insisted that the energy needed to make $1 of GDP could never go down, and I heretically suggested it could go down profitably by several-fold, and that's what happened by twofold so far. Yet today's far more powerful technologies and integrative design and maturing delivery channels can do far more, even faster and cheaper. To solve the energy problem, we just needed to enlarge it and look at the whole thing. And the results may at first seem incredible, but as Marshall McLuhan said, only puny secrets need protection. Big discoveries are protected by public incredulity. Now, Rocky Mountain Institute's implementation initiatives in each sector are helping smart companies to speed this journey and get unstuck. Of course, there is still a lot of old thinking too, as Oilman Morris Strong said, not all the fossils are in the fuel. But DuPont's former chairman, Edgar Woolard, reminded us that firms hampered by old thinking won't be a problem because in the long run they simply won't be around. What I've described here is not simply a once-in-a-civilization business opportunity. It's one of the most profound transformations in the history of our species. Humans are inventing a new fire, not dug from below, but flowing from above. Not scarce but bountiful, not local but everywhere, not transient but permanent, not costly but free. But for a little biofuel grown in ways that sustain and endure, this new fire is flameless. Efficiently used, it can do our work without working our undoing. Each of you owns a piece of this $5 trillion prize, and our book details how each of you can capture that opportunity. So with the conversation starting today at reinventingfire.com, we invite you to engage with us and with each other to help make the world richer, fairer, cooler, and safer by reinventing fire. Thank you.